I came to return my ex's things. Her roommate opened the door and changed my life. The last thing I expected that quiet Saturday morning was for a stranger to hand me a reason to believe in life again. I had driven across 3 counties with a cardboard box full of memories I didn't want anymore, convinced I was closing the final chapter of a relationship that had taken years to build and only weeks to destroy. Instead, the woman who answered the door looked at the box in my hands, then at my exhausted face, and said something so unexpected with her gentle smile that everything I believed about endings began to change. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, hope, forgiveness, compassion, and second chances can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that may need them the most. My name is Nathan Hayes, and this happened in a quiet neighborhood outside Franklin, Tennessee. 3 months earlier, my relationship with my longtime girlfriend Emily had ended after years of plans, dreams, and promises. There hadn't been screaming or betrayal. Sometimes people simply grow in different directions, but that truth didn't make the silence any easier to live with. I packed away every photograph, every birthday card, every sweater she had forgotten at my apartment, hoping that returning them would finally allow both of us to move forward. The driveway felt strangely familiar. As I parked, I remembered helping paint the porch one summer and planting flowers along the walkway. Those memories felt like they belonged to someone else's life. I picked up the heavy box, walked to the front door, and took one long breath before knocking. Emily wasn't home. Instead, the door opened to a woman I had never met before. She introduced herself as Sophie Marsh, explaining that she had recently rented the spare room after moving from Ohio for a nursing position at the local hospital. She apologized that Emily had left unexpectedly to help her mother after a medical appointment and probably wouldn't return until evening. I felt awkward standing there holding years of my past. Sophie noticed immediately. She quietly offered to keep the box safe, or if I preferred, I could wait inside until Emily returned. Something about her calm voice carried no curiosity, no judgment, only kindness. I accepted a glass of iced tea while deciding what to do. As we sat in the living room, surrounded by afternoon sunlight, conversation came naturally. Sophie wasn't interested in my failed relationship. Instead, she asked what I enjoyed before life became so complicated. It was such an unusual question that I didn't know how to answer. After thinking for a moment, I admitted that I used to build handmade furniture with my grandfather before he passed away. I hadn't touched my woodworking tools in over a year. Sophie smiled warmly and told me the hospital where she worked partnered with a rehabilitation center for injured veterans. Many patients wanted to learn woodworking as therapy, but they had no instructor. She said she didn't know why, but listening to me describe my grandfather made her think I belonged there. Her words stayed with me long after I left the house. Emily eventually received the box without either of us reopening old wounds. Our conversation was respectful, brief, and peaceful. For the first time, saying goodbye didn't feel like losing. It simply felt honest. A week later, I found myself standing inside the rehabilitation center's workshop. The room smelled of fresh pine and sawdust, reminding me of afternoons spent beside my grandfather's old workbench. The first class was small. A retired firefighter named George struggled to hold a measuring tape steady because of an injured shoulder. Another veteran named Jason laughed every time he made a mistake. None of them cared about perfect furniture. They cared about believing they could still create something meaningful. Slowly, week after week, my own healing became tied to theirs. Every finished bookshelf, every handcrafted birdhouse, every polished table reminded us that broken pieces could become something beautiful again. Sophie often stopped by after her shifts, bringing coffee and encouraging every student by name. She never asked about my past because she seemed more interested in helping people build their futures. Months passed before I realized that I looked forward to seeing her more than anything else. She wasn't trying to rescue me. She simply treated every person she met as though they mattered. Watching her comfort anxious patients, encourage lonely families, and celebrate tiny victories taught me that love isn't always loud. Sometimes it quietly appears through everyday acts of compassion. One autumn afternoon, the rehabilitation center hosted an open house. Families walked through the workshop, admiring every handmade project. George's granddaughter hugged him proudly beside the rocking chair he had built with his own hands. Jason donated his finished coffee table to a young military family who had recently moved into their first home. Looking around the room, I suddenly understood that none of us had come there simply to build furniture. We had rebuilt ourselves. Sophie found me standing near the doorway as the evening sun filled the workshop with warm light. She thanked me for staying when I could have walked away after one uncomfortable afternoon months earlier. I smiled because the truth was much simpler. I had only come to to return a cardboard box. Somehow, God had returned something far greater to me. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please support the video by liking it, sharing it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribing for more uplifting stories that remind us kindness is never wasted. Before this story ends, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment and tell us about a moment when an unexpected stranger changed your life or restored your faith in people. Your story may become the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Looking back now, I no longer remember the weight of that cardboard box. I remember the open front door, the simple offer of a glass of iced tea, and the kindness of someone who chose compassion over curiosity. Sometimes we think we're delivering the final pieces of our past, only to discover that life has quietly prepared a new beginning on the other side of the doorstep. The greatest blessings rarely arrive the way we expect them to. They often begin with ordinary moments, ordinary people, and one unexpected act of grace that changes everything forever.